Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. It is Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock Central Time here. We're going over the waiver wire news and notes and just players to look at and that we should be aware of to pick up here. We got a bunch of news that I already put into the feed here, so I'm just going to kind of read these off. Kadarius Toney, probably not going to play this week. It looks like they already kind of ruled him out, so questionable. I think they have a bye week 8, so it's likely that he's going to return in week 9. The Saints activated Traequan Smith from the IR. We'll see if he can make his debut here. I think they play on Monday Night Football. Odell Beckham, he's going to be questionable going into this game. He did not practice today. Tomorrow's a big day for him. If he can practice, he'll likely be able to play. Colts put Paris Campbell on the IR with a foot injury. Mike Vrabel said that Julio Jones status is day-to-day. Nick Chubb, of course, won't play in Week 7, so we'll be looking at Ernest Johnson on the waiver wire. And then Dawson Knox, apparently he broke a bone in his hand last night. And I guess that was before he threw that two-point conversion to Josh Allen. So Dawson Knox, we'll see. They're on bye this week. We'll see what happens for Week 8. Good evening, Harris. Should I drop Booker? It depends on who for. Booker, I mean, the Giants do have a tougher schedule. I mean, Booker does have, a nice 9 to 10. Like last week is as bad as it's going to go. So if you want to just lock in 9-10 points, I think Booker's fine as long as Saquon Barkley is out. So if you can beat those 9-10 points, I'd say do it. Otherwise, I don't mind running him out there in those PPR formats. But let's take a look here. We're on the fantasyfellowship.com, the Waiver Wire Report. I think it's linked in the description below, so check that out if you can. Good evening, Inceptivus. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm just going to read over these injuries real quick that we have to watch out for this week. Jimmy Garoppolo is probable for week 7 here. Trey Lance is going to be questionable. It looks like Garoppolo is going to be the starter for Sunday Night Football. And Baker Mayfield with that left shoulder. Don't know who's going to play. It sounds like he's going to play. He's been saying in the media that it's all up to him. Coaches are kind of just leaving it up to his pain tolerance. So it looks like Baker's going to play. We already know Nick Chubb out for Week 7. Antonio Gibson with his shin/calf injury. He had an MRI yesterday. He's questionable for Week 7. I didn't hear any news on today's, the waiver, or I guess the news wire, as far as the MRI results. So we'll wait and see what happens tomorrow. I'm assuming he's not going to practice tomorrow. We'll see Thursday or Friday. Again, Kareem Hunt on IR now. Latavius Murray questionable for Week 7 with an ankle injury. We'll look at the Baltimore running backs. Kadarius Toney pretty much already ruled out, so that's good news for Sterling Shepard. T.Y. Hilton with a quad injury. He's questionable for Week 7. So the Colts are kind of banged up back up at receiver here. Paris Campbell's on IR with a foot injury, so that makes me like Michael Pittman Jr. in this one. Odell Beckham, of course, questionable for Week 7 with a shoulder. And then just some minor stuff here. Travis Kelce had a wrist thing pop up on the injury report, but he's questionable. It's probably going to play. And then Dawson Knox, they are on bye, but we'll see if he's able to play in Week 8. And then I do have a list of previous injuries here that we need to just kind of be aware of. Jerry Judy, probably not going to play on Thursday Night Football, probably Week 8 return for him. It does look like Jarvis Landry is going to play this Thursday night, though, so we'll watch for that. And then we're still going to wait and see if Gronk can play this week. But let's get into the quarterbacks here. Again, I'm sure you guys, I have to update these bye lists, but there's 6 teams on bye in this one here. So we're going to have to navigate these waters, treacherous, it's just treacherous waters right now for the bye weeks. The waiver wire is very important this week. The quarterbacks, we'll look at we'll look at the running backs in a little bit. I'm gonna just pound through the quarterbacks real quick. If you need a quarterback to start this week, I really like Matt Ryan at Miami, or I like Tua against Atlanta. So that game has 2 quarterbacks here that could be useful. At the top of the list, I'm not looking to start Baker Mayfield. Derek Carr maybe against Philadelphia as a QB1 streamer. Trevor Lawrence and Kirk Cousins both on bye. Taylor Heineke, there's rumors that Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be back soon. This might be Heineke's last shot or two at a starting quarterback tryout here. Not interested in him and at Green Bay. Sam Darnold at the Giants. This one's interesting. He's been rushing the ball well as a quarterback, so you like those extra points when you can get them. It is a game against the Giants, so maybe Sam Darnold can be a streamer for you. Daniel Jones, it's at home versus Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers. And I don't know. I don't really trust it too much. I'd like it more if Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, and the whole cast was healthy, but it's just not right now. So I prefer Matt Ryan at Miami. Justin Fields against Tampa Bay, no thank you. Tua Tagovailoa, though, against Atlanta, that one looked pretty good. Even if he gets Devontae Parker back this week, that's going to be interesting too. Trey Lance, probably not going to start this week. Jameis Winston at Seattle, though. This one's interesting. We're seeing the Saints come off of a bye week. Traequan Smith is going to start practicing. Michael Thomas, lingers in the background, but future, coming back off the IR soon. So Jameis Winston at Seattle, that could be a nice 2 to 3 touchdown game here if you need a streamer. Roethlisberger's on bye. Carson Wentz, he's been playing well. He's not a great real life quarterback, but he's been okay for fantasy. Probably better left for QB2 leagues. You got Teddy Bridgewater here at Cleveland. He's got Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant all playing really well. So Teddy Bridgewater is an interesting guy here. So the guys that I have in buy are interesting quarterback one streamers. We'll just leave this rest of this group down for quarterback 2 superflex leagues. I guess pick up Ryan Fitzpatrick if you're in a superflex league. Pick up Tyrod Taylor. These guys could be making their return soon. And then let's look at some of the running backs. Could you rank some running backs for me in a little bit? This is what I have so far on the list. And again, this is ESPN's percent rostered rankings. So if you're looking for a starter this week, Elijah Mitchell, probably the top guy here at 59.5% rostered. Alex Collins, we're waiting to see if he can play. He did have a hip injury against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. So I'm leaning towards him not playing this week, but we'll see if he can practice. J.D. McKissick might be my favorite guy if you can pick him up in full PPR leagues. For standard leagues, I don't really like him as much, but against Green Bay, a team that we expect Green Bay to put up points on Washington's defense, especially at home. So that could lead to more passing, more game script for J.D. McKissick. Sony Michelle, if you need a sleeper against Detroit, it's at home. We expect the Rams to just blow up on offense here. So for non-PPR, I mean, Sony Michelle is an interesting guy here. I like him quite a bit. Ramondre Stevenson, because I saw that Damian Harris left the game last week on Sunday against the Cowboys. He left the game, I think it was at the end of the fourth quarter. Ramondre Stevenson came in and got that rushing touchdown. So if Harris can't go, we have to watch his reports. If Harris can't go, I really like Ramondre Stevenson against the Jets. He might even just be worth a play even if Harris plays, because we know Harris is dinged up and he's been able to kind of just get injured the last few games. So Stevenson, interesting play here. For other non-PPR guys, we're watching the health of Latavius Murray. I thought Devonta Freeman looked like the best Ravens back that wasn't dinged up. So it goes Freeman and Le'Veon Bell kind of on the list here, but I like Freeman more than I like Le'Veon Bell. But Ernest Johnson, if you're looking for a non-PPR guy, Nick Chubb's out, Kareem Hunt's out, Ernest Johnson's getting the start against the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos defense just has not been playing very well the last few weeks. So this is a home game. Baker Mayfield's got the shoulder thing. We could see a lot of Ernest Johnson. So if you're looking for a guy that is almost guaranteed to be available on your waiver wires, it's going to be Ernest Johnson. So he's my recommendation. If you need a guy for the long term, potentially Jarrett Patterson, because we know that Antonio Gibson has an injury. If Gibson is out, I think Jarrett Patterson's going to be the starting running back. He's going to get the main carries, probably 10 to 15 touches, and then McKissick's going to kind of remain in his PPR back workload. So keep an eye on Antonio Gibson, but the pickup of the week at running back is going to be Ernest Johnson. He's going to get upwards of 15 to 20 touches in this one against the Broncos. So that's probably the best guy. Good evening, Devin. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know if you guys have any more running back questions. We're probably going to do a little bit quicker video tonight. I got the Milwaukee Bucks on TV right now, and they're playing pretty well against the Nets. So we'll probably try to time this up and be done in maybe a half hour or so. But let me know if you guys have any more running back questions. Again, my favorite guy. We have a lot of practice and injury reports to watch this week. But if you're looking for a guy tonight, it's Ernest Johnson. If you're trying to be sneaky and be ahead, Ramondre Stevenson, Jarrett Patterson could be starting running backs this week. And then the injury to Alex Collins is interesting because I didn't put Rashad Penny on the list. He's going to be back, but I prefer DJ Dallas. If Collins is out, I like DJ Dallas in a PPR setting against the Saints. But let's move it on to wide receivers here. At the top of the list, I have some banged up receivers here that are returning soon. Jerry Judy, again, he's not doesn't sound like he's going to play on Thursday night. It sounds like Week 8 is going to be the time for him. It does sound like Jarvis Landry is going to play. He's going to be one of the lone healthy receivers for the Browns. So I like Jarvis Landry tomorrow night or Wednesday or Thursday night. Sterling Shepard, though, with the injuries to Kadarius Toney, and Kadarius Toney's probably not going to play. We're probably not going to see Kenny Golladay either. So Sterling Shepard right now is locked into a wide receiver 3 PPR format for me. If anyone drops Kadarius Toney, pick him up. I know they're on bye next week, but if you can roster him through these treacherous bye weeks, I think Toney's going to really help us down the stretch here. Brandon Ayuk, tough matchup against Indianapolis. I don't know if I trust it. Hunter Renfrow versus Philadelphia. Again, last week was his first game where he didn't hit double digits in PPR. So we'll watch for Renfrow. If anyone cuts him, he's worth a stash on the bench. People have been dropping Devontae Parker because he's missed the last 2 weeks, but I like picking him up, especially against Atlanta. If Parker plays, he's probably going to be a top 36, top 40 wide receiver option. Michael Gallup, they're on bye this week, but he's gonna be back next week, week 8. So we're gonna see more wide receiver sets. You're probably gonna see a bigger boost to Dak Prescott's numbers too. So I like Gallup. If he's available, go ahead and do it. Will Fuller, worth a stash. He's got that finger injury thing going on. So if anyone dropped him, he's worth a look in 12-man leagues. And then we get to some guys here that have a small chance of being available. Nicole Hardman at Tennessee. We just saw Josh Allen pick apart this Tennessee defense last night with the trouble that they're having at cornerback right now. I think Nicole Hardman could be a fun play this week. Darnell Mooney, we know that wide receivers against Tampa Bay are usually a hit, so I'm open to it. I don't feel great about it, but he did catch a touchdown last week. Tim Patrick, for some reason, he's only 40% rostered, but he's been playing really good football. I know Jerry Judy comes back next week, but this might be our last week to cash in on a top 36 for Tim Patrick. Curtis Samuel, maybe just an IR stash for now. Rondale Moore, still holding on to Rondale Moore. Marquez Callaway, though, I kind of talked about Jameis Winston at the top of the show here. I like Callaway. He's still the wide receiver 1 on this team. Even if Traequan Smith comes back, Callaway can be a wide receiver 3 against Seattle. AJ Green and Christian Kirk. I don't know why these guys' ownerships are so low. At the moment right now, you kind of want to leave them in as your wide receiver 3 or flex in PPR leagues. They're both playing really, really well. They play against Houston this week. You get a piece of Kyler Murray. I think that's where you want to be for fantasy right now. Jamison Crowder, only 24% rostered here. He's worth a pickup, a potential wide receiver 3 option for you. T.Y. Hilton, he hurt the quad. He might be back. We'll see. Elijah Moore, though, I'm open to Elijah Moore getting more involved in the offense after their bye. Rashad Bateman, as long as Sammy Watkins is not playing, I like Rashad Bateman here as a potential wide receiver 3 flex. If he's hanging around your wire, he's worth a pickup. And then pretty much everybody on the bottom of this list is more of like a dart throw, but Amon-Ra St. Brown continues to get usage. KJ Osbourne, the Vikings are on bye, but he had a nice game last week. Osbourne, I'm never really going to feel comfortable starting unless there's an injury to like Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson. But Quez Watkins continues to be the number 2 wide receiver in Philadelphia for fantasy. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to be returning from IR in week 8. If he's available, he's worth a pickup, a stash on your bench. Demarcus Robinson, just the kind of the third fiddle for the Chiefs. And then the biggest sleeper is Donovan Peoples-Jones, who blew up for 2 touchdowns last week. He might actually be the best receiver on the Browns roster to own. He's had 2 nice games in a row. I think he's worth a spot in 12-man leagues. And then just super deep leagues, Jamal Agnew, especially if you have return yard leagues. But let me get caught up here on some of these questions here. Can you rank these running backs? Alex Collins, Jamal Williams, Sony Michelle, Kenny G, JD, Giovanni, Kenyon Drake, DJ Dallas, Chris Evans, Stevenson, or Freeman for this week. So assuming this is non-PPR for you, Harris, I'm going to cross Giovanni Bernard off the list. I'm going to cross Kenny Gainwell off the list. Kenyon Drake, I know last week was interesting, but that still feels a little hard to trust. I don't know if I like that. DJ Dallas, again, he's more of a PPR back. I think the same thing with Chris Evans. These guys are all kind of backup PPR guys. So the guys that stick out, I like Alex. If Alex Collins is going to play, he's probably your best bet. But I kind of like we got to kind of wait and see with Stevenson and Freeman. If Damian Harris plays, Ramondre Stevenson's the backup. If Latavius Murray plays, Devonta Freeman is still the backup. So it's kind of difficult for me right now to pick one guy. I think Alex Collins has the best value. But otherwise, Sony Michelle potentially could have a nice game against the Detroit Lions. I know Darrell Henderson has been playing well, but man, the Rams are probably going to steamroll the Lions. So I could see Sony Michelle sneaking into the end zone. So for now, I'm looking at Alex Collins. I'm not interested in Jamal Williams. I'm interested in Sony Michelle. And then it's really Stevenson and Freeman, but we need more information on those guys. But I think if you could make a pickup, I still think Ernest Johnson's probably the best pickup that you can make for this week. And I like Ernest Johnson probably better than all these guys that we're looking at right now. How do you feel about McLaurin this week after a dud last week? I'm not too concerned about it. He's still got the volume. It's fine. The Green Bay Packers don't have a healthy cornerback right now. They're playing with a bunch of fourth and fifth stringers. So I'm optimistic Terry McLaurin's probably going to have a good game. We're also watching the health of the Packers safety, Darnell Savage. So Terry McLaurin, I'm fine with it. He's a stud. We know Terry McLaurin probably won't have more than one bad game in a row. So I'm open to Terry McLaurin getting back in our good side this week. So don't in a couple of leagues that I have, my bye weeks are pretty rough. The Chargers, the Cowboys, the Bills, some of the best teams in fantasy football for us. Really have a stronghold on our teams here. So don't let anybody that you make sure you want to have for the rest of the season. There's one league where I don't have a tight end and I have nobody to cut, so I'm probably going to roll out 0 tight ends. If you guys have questions on any of that stuff, just don't be so quick to cut anybody this week, especially if they're going to help you down the stretch. Also start 2 this week: Renfro, Devonta Smith, and Darnell Mooney. Probably Darnell Mooney and Devonta Smith. If you want the free points, Hunter Renfro. Apparently now, he got 6 point whatever points last week, so his floor is a 7 point game, and he's got the double digit upside here, but he doesn't really have much of a ceiling. Whereas Devonta Smith can go for 20. Darnell Mooney, good game last week, especially going up against Tampa Bay. We'll look at. We'll probably pull up the fantasy points by allowed by position in a sec here, but just out of curiosity, real quick. Tampa Bay still allows the 4th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. They've allowed 8 touchdowns, 1,100 yards here, 96 catches. So Tampa Bay is still a defense we want to target, and we expect the Bucs to be winning. We expect probably Justin Fields to have to throw the ball more than they are accustomed to. So I like Mooney and Devonta. Would you play anyone instead of Pittman Jr. that I can get off the waiver wire? Probably not. I think. So last week, you look at the stats for the Indy game. T.Y. Hilton had the big game. Paris Campbell had the big touchdown. That kind of left Michael Pittman Jr. on the side. But with Campbell now on IR and T.Y.'s got a quad thing now, all of a sudden Pittman Jr. is kind of back to where he was before those guys were on the line, were in the field. So I do like Pittman Jr. this week. If you're looking for a waiver wire wide receiver, some of the only guys that I would play, and I don't know if they're available, but maybe I'd probably play Christian Kirk over Pittman Jr. I would play Tim Patrick over Pittman Jr., and that's kind of about it. So there's really not too many options that I would play over him. If Devontae Parker's out there, I might play him if he's good to go. So there's really not too many guys. I think I'm feeling good with Pittman Jr. here. But let's cover these tight ends real quick for the waiver wire. So I do have a list here of all the tight ends that should be rostered. So if any of these guys are available, pounce. You should go get these guys. That's, of course, Kelsey, Waller, Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle, Pitts. These guys should be owned. If they're available, somehow go get them, please. But Gronk, Fant, Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz, Mike Gesicki, Tyler Higbee, Dallas Goedert, and Logan Thomas. All of these guys are must-own tight ends. So guys that might be available: Jared Cook, they're on bye week, not going to help us this week. Hunter Henry, though, he's been, I think, catching touchdown in the last 3 games, so he's on a nice little streak here. They have a game. I can't remember who they play. They play the Jets, so it's a good opportunity for Hunter Henry. Robert Tonyan, we're not starting him. We need to see him begin to stack some more good weeks in a row. But if anyone cuts him, he's worth a stash on your bench. Jonnu Smith, I'm not really excited about him. But Zach Ertz, this is probably the pickup of the week for tight end, because now that he's on Arizona, this is going to be really good news for the Cardinals passing game. And Zach Ertz is probably going to have a high volume opportunity. We saw Max Williams cash in with a lot of big games before he was on IR. So Zach Ertz is probably my pickup for the rest of the season at the tight end spot. Hooper, not really excited about. Evan Ingram, not really excited about. If you need a tight end just for this week, Ricky Seals-Jones is probably the guy for you. Logan Thomas is going to be eligible next week. Ricky Seals-Jones is going to play at Green Bay. He's caught a touchdown the last 2 weeks, so I like Ricky Seals-Jones if you need somebody here. He's only 20% rostered, so there's a good chance that he's there. Let me see. Tyler Conklin's on bye. Eric Ebron's on bye. Cole Kmet, because we were kind of talking about the Bears having to throw the ball more against Tampa Bay, I don't see them having success on the ground running the ball. So Cole Kmet, he played well last week. I think he had 8.9 PPR points. So he's a guy that could potentially start growing into our circle of trust. Dan Arnold's on bye, but I like him as a stash. Gerald Everett, game against the Saints. We'll see. How are the Saints against tight end? Let me see real quick. I think they are. So they gave up about 9.42 points to the tight end. It's nothing amazing, but if you need a tight end, I like Everett on Monday Night Football. CJ Uzama, interesting game against the Ravens. The Ravens are one of the worst teams against tight ends. So if you're desperate, CJ Uzama could be the guy for you. Pat Freiermuth, man. He looked really good the other night here. He's actually ahead of Eric Ebron for me, so I don't know why he's so drastically lower in percent rostership. But Mo Ali Cox, another fun guy, Sunday Night Football. He's been playing well the last few weeks. He's worth a potential pickup. And then Donald Parham, our favorite sleeper. If anything happens to Jared Cook, Donald Parham is going to be on this list going for it. So let me get caught up here on some questions. How do you think Elijah Mitchell will do this week against a tough Colts D? Well, let's look at it here. So the Indianapolis Colts so far this season, where do they rank? Why can't I find them? Why can't I find them? My eyes are not working. All right, so the Colts rank 27th here. They allow about 18.17 points per game to the running back. They've allowed almost 500 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 26 catches, 216 yards, and a touchdown. So what we've seen so far from the 49ers is that when Elijah Mitchell is healthy, he's going to get like 90% of the workload there. They don't really use Trey Sermon. There's really no other running back behind them to use. So Elijah Mitchell, if we're going to just give him, roughly 90% of these stats here, you're looking at maybe a 14 to 15 point day if he gets a touchdown in. So I like Elijah Mitchell. The 49ers are going to probably want to establish the run. Tough game against the Colts. I think we could see a nice game out of Elijah Mitchell this week. And I feel kind of safe about him being in the double digits. It's got a floor of 8 to 10 points. I know it hasn't been pretty so far this year, but it is a tough matchup against the Colts, but it can be done. Actually, I want to look up one thing real quick too. If you guys ever use FF Today, you just hit the stats tab. We're going to roll down here and click on fantasy points allowed to the running backs. And then let's click on the Colts, because you click on the Colts and you can see who all had a good day against them. So if I just filter by PPR, I just want to see how many running backs have gone over double digits. So they let Mark Ingram get 10.1 points. They allowed Chris Carson to get 14.7. Darrell Henderson had 17.2, and Derrick Henry had 17.4. So they do allow a fair amount of points here on the low end. You're probably looking at a floor of 7 to 8 points for Elijah Mitchell this week. Do you think Dalton Schultz is better than Noah Fant? For the rest of the season, I'd probably rather be attached to Dak Prescott. And with Michael Gallup coming back soon too, you're probably going to see Blake Jarwin kind of go back to more fewer snaps. I know Noah Fant is right here as tight end 6, but Dalton Schultz, man, 359 yards, 3 touchdowns. They're putting up very similar numbers, but give me the tight end and the better offense. I think the Dallas Cowboys lead the league in scoring right now, so I prefer Schultz over Fant the rest of the season. Which two should I start? Kirk, Renfrow, and St. Brown. I'm going to go with Kirk and Hunter Renfrow. I trust those teams more than I trust the rookie Detroit Lions receiver. Christian Kirk's got a really good matchup here against the Houston Texans at home, and Hunter Renfrow, a soft game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Just out of curiosity real quick, Christian Kirk sitting here as wide receiver 29 in PPR. And where's Hunter Renfrow at? Hunter Renfrow down here at 34. St. Brown's not even anywhere on the list. So I'm going to go with the two guys that I trust the most here. Who's you add of the week? It's Ernest Johnson. If you need a running some of this, when I put these lists together, it doesn't really tell you what to do. So it's kind of like based on what you need. If you need a starting running back this week, it's Ernest Johnson. I should probably put him as the parentheses pickup of the week because he's the starter against Denver. Let's actually take a look here and see what running backs have been doing against Denver real quick. We'll filter by PPR points right here real quick. So the Broncos, they are one of the better teams against the running back, but they've allowed 4 rushing touchdowns. And let's just look here. So Najee Harris in week 5 goes for 22.2 points there. He gets 122 yards and a rushing touchdown. Kenyon Drake This was last week. He caught a touchdown and he ran for a touchdown. So 2 games over 20 points to the running back. Josh Jacobs even had 53 yards and a touchdown. So they allowed 3 running back touchdowns just last week. Latavius Murray even had 59 yards and a touchdown here. So you see 4 games with or 4 running backs over 10 PPR points, 2 running backs over 20 here. So I do like the ability here for Ernest Johnson. If you need a running back, that's probably the pickup of the week. If you need a wide receiver, the pickup of the week, I really like Christian Kirk against Houston. That one seems to be pretty low-hanging fruit. And then I guess if anyone let go of Devontae Parker, I think he could have some nice value the rest of the season. Do you think Christian Kirk is droppable after that Ertz trade? I feel like he is very boom bust with the amount of weapons they have in that offense. So that's a good question. I'm super interested in what happens with this Zach Ertz trade. But if we look at what Max Williams was doing, let me pull up Max Williams. He's actually tight end number 21 on the season. So Max Williams, these are his targets throughout the game. So I really don't know if there's that big of a difference in these guys right now, but you see a max of 7 targets, 5 targets here, but he was very consistent with those targets. So I guess 17 targets in basically 5 games here. Pretty much he got hurt early in this one. So basically in 4 games. So Ertz is probably going to see 4 to 5 targets per game going forward. So I don't know if this is going to eat too much into Christian Kirk's numbers here. If I roll to Christian Kirk, again, he's going to be on the field a lot here still. So I'm still not too worried here. If we look at the targets for Christian Kirk here, he's seeing 5, 4, 8, 5, 8. The one bad game, of course, being the one here. So far we see data points. 5 out of 6 games you wanted Christian Kirk in your lineup. So I'm going to continue to roll with that. Ertz could put a dent into things, but it's not going to be by a bunch. If anything, Christian Kirk is showing that even with 4 or 5 targets, he's still a productive enough receiver. So I would hold on to him. Let's see Ertz still needs to get integrated into the offense a little bit. So I still like Christian Kirk. No problem. Yeah, I'm probably going to get out of here in about 5 minutes or so. I think this Milwaukee Bucks game's almost to halftime, and it looks like they're taking care of the Nets, so that's fun. Ernest or Felton? It's not even close. It's Ernest Johnson. Felton's a receiver. He's a receiving running back. It's going to be all Ernest Johnson. Would you play Corey Davis or Pittman Jr. this week? Let's see. So we already know that the Jets have already played the Patriots before. Let me look at those numbers real quick for Corey Davis. Corey Davis, where are we? Corey Davis. I just want to look up that game real quick. So Corey Davis against the Patriots, 5 targets, 2 for 8. Patriots defense is pretty good. This one's at New England as well. I don't really know if I want to gamble with these. Like, this floor is pretty treacherous. So you're going to get either a 4 for 45, a 5 for 41. I think I'd rather just take the upside of Michael Pittman Jr. in a really fun game against the 49ers on Sunday night. Oh man. No problem, dude. Thanks for hanging out and asking the questions, man. That's what you guys make this show go. So I appreciate you guys hanging out and asking questions. For best defenses of the week here, the Patriots are one of the obvious calls here. They're at home against the Jets. They're under 60% rostered here. The Bucks, the Broncos, the Rams, these guys are all, top-owned defenses here. That Broncos-Browns game should be low scoring. I still like Ernest Johnson in this one. But the Rams might be the best play of the week. The Panthers at the Giants, that's another one under 60% owned. If you need to pick up a defense, the Cardinals should be at the top of the list. The Patriots should be at the top of the list. The Panthers are interesting. I think the Saints at Seattle are interesting. And then maybe the Packers against Washington. So let me know if you guys have any questions on the defensive side of things. And then maybe just the last few minutes, I'm just going to go over the fantasy points allowed here. Because right now, the Washington football team, they are giving up the most PPR points per game here. They allow the most quarterback points, roughly 27.34 points to the quarterback, and 51.6 total PPR points to the wide receiver. So this is a huge Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers week. We're probably going to see 3 or 4 TDs out of Aaron Rodgers, maybe 1 or 2 out of Devontae. So those two guys are looking really, really good this week. The Dolphins. allowing the second most PPR points, which is why I like Matt Ryan as a streaming quarterback this week. They give up about 21.33 points to the quarterback here. Pretty generous against the running back, too, over 30 PPR points. So that means Cordero Patterson. That means Mike Davis should be in our lineups this week. And, of course, Calvin Ridley's going to be back. I like that. If Kyle Pitts hits 12 points, you're happy with that, too. The New York Giants giving up the third most PPR points per game here. So they're going to get Carolina. Pretty much every spot is green against the Giants here, so it doesn't really matter what we do. I like Darnold as a low-end quarterback one play, probably best for Superflex. I like Chuba Hubbard as probably a top 10 play this week. Chuba Hubbard looking really, really good. And then DJ Moore. That's really about it for the Panthers. The Seahawks giving up the fourth most PPR points. Jameis Winston, man, might be good for 18 to 20 points. Alvin Kamara is probably going to smash in this one, and then we'll see if Marquez Callaway or any other Saints players can make our day here. The Jags are on bye, so that's unfortunate that we can't take advantage of that. But the Jaguars are looking better as an offense, that is. But the Chiefs coming in at number 6, giving up a lot of points to the quarterback. I think this is the second most points to the quarterback here, almost 24.5 quarterback points. You see 26.68 to the running back. So Derrick Henry, of course, probably going to have a nice day here. The Chiefs are pretty good against the wide receivers, which is interesting. They just tend to give up a lot of points to the running backs and the tight ends. So I'm not sure why against the wide receivers, the Chiefs are giving up 61 total catches, 850 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So a good amount of touchdowns, just not a ton of stats here. Is Waddle good non-PPR? Well, fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver. Atlanta giving up the 12th most PPR. This isn't PPR, but they've allowed 845 yards and 7 touchdowns. Atlanta is a defense we want to target, so I do like Jalen Waddle. He seems to have a really safe connection with Tua. And again, when they get near that red zone, they look twice at Jalen Waddle, so there's a good chance that he can get a little touchdown streak going here. So I do think Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa, pretty good options against Atlanta this week. So let me see if I can round out the top 10 here. Tampa Bay allowing the 8th most PPR points. They give up points to the quarterback. So maybe Justin Fields has his best game as a passer. It could be ugly with sacks and turnovers, but he could put up a lot of numbers. And then again, the wide receiver spots against Tampa Bay. Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney are interesting. And then you look at the PPR points to the tight end. I mean, Cole Kmet, like this could be a nice output for the Bears offense. Cowboys are on bye. And then here we go. We get to the Atlanta Falcons. So I like Tua. I like I don't know what to do with Myles Gaskin, guys. I honestly don't know at this point. I'm trying to trade him. I'm trying to get rid of him. I don't even want to look at him on my roster right now. But it looks like the Falcons giving up points to the QB, giving up points to the wide receivers here. So pick one non-PPR: Pittman Jr., Waddle, or Kirk. We'll have to watch the injury reports in this one. If Devontae Parker is out, I think Jalen Waddle is probably the best bet because that means he's the clear wide receiver 1 option for Tua. So if Parker does not play, I really like Jalen Waddle. But otherwise, I'm kind of feeling Christian Kirk here. And that might feel risky, but so far, 5 out of 6 games, Christian Kirk has been a hit. And he's, again, when you play non-PPR, you're asking yourself who's going to have the best odds to score a touchdown. And with Kyler Murray right now, it's probably Christian Kirk as the best guy. But I do like Jalen Waddle, so that's probably going to be my answer for now. He's been looking really good with Tua. So that's going to do it for tonight's episode. I will be going live on Thursday evening. I think I'm going to try to do it at 6 p.m. or 6:30. I'm not sure what time we'll go live yet, but definitely in between 6 and 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So thank you guys for hanging out. Check out some of the other videos. Check out the snap count video that we just put out last night. That was a good video. So thank you again so much for your time. Have a good rest of your evening. Peace.